let's go ahead and show our nuts to everybody. So. Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. I have been bumping into kinists lately. I had a few conversations a few months ago where I started to sense them getting close to me. But yeah, over the last week or two, bumped into them a lot online. You may ask yourself, well, what is a kinist? Now, for the record, these folks tend to reject that word. They're not kinists, but the talking points are the same. Kinism is effectively apartheid thinking. And alas, that apartheid is probably the greatest blemish on the Reformed tradition, on Reformed theology, on Kuyperian theology. I am Reformed, I am a Kuyperian, I love me some sphere sovereignty. And yet it was precisely Kuyper's theology that was pushed to the forefront as the Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa, and eventually its three manifestations, used to justify apartheid. And so, unfortunately, there's a tendency for these sorts of folks to try to gravitate into certain Christian circles. They are not likely to be Free Will Baptists or Pentecostals, because the theology matches with more difficulty. You can imagine that with a concept like sphere sovereignty, right? Like the state has what it's in charge of. It can impinge on the family or the church. The same is true of the family, not impinging on the church or the state, etc. And it's not just those three great spheres, but other spheres. So you can imagine that that would be appealing to someone who would want to say that those people should be over there and we shouldn't mix. I want to talk today about fear. And I'm going to use a couple of pretty funny examples. And I say that they're funny, well, first of all, because they did amuse me, but also because it will be claimed by those who might object to this video that I am misrepresenting them and their views. And you know what? That's probably so. I'll still be using their words and their ideas. So let's just call these talking points. The first fear, actually the greater of the two I'm going to talk about, but I want to save the best, the most fun for last. The first fear I want to talk about is the fear of extinction. And alas, that it's mostly in a Darwinian sense. And so someone was commenting on my social media about my disregard for white people because of the red and gray squirrels. Okay, so if you're familiar with the squirrel situation in Great Britain, American gray squirrels have gotten over there, and they are a menace to red squirrels, driving red squirrels away. They're faster, they're more aggressive, they take the habitat and the food of the red squirrels, and this means that red squirrels have been harder and harder to find. Okay, so far, so fair. Here's the problem with that particular example. Uh, Red squirrels and gray squirrels can't actually mate. And the reason they can't actually mate is the same reason. This is how the BBC put it, and I found it snarky and hilarious. It's the same reason that hedgehogs and porcupines can't mate. They're different species from different continents. When we're talking about people, right? About, and I have a video elsewhere. I recommend that you watch it. Let's see here, here, about how white isn't real, but more than white not being real, black shouldn't be real, yellow, red, these things aren't real. Native American, hardly real. Now, Apache, Cherokee, Seminole, that's real. So, a fear of extinction is thoroughly misplaced, given that what we're talking about here is all gray squirrels. Now, that's not to say there are no differences. I can tell you that I was shocked when I moved to Florida as a teenager and saw how skinny the squirrels were. I mean, I'd want to be skinny if I were a squirrel in Florida too. They weren't like the fat New England squirrels I had just left. But they're all the same species. So what would happen if those populations mixed? Well, that's exactly what would happen. They would mix. We're not talking porcupines and hedgehogs. And so there is a fear because of a lack of identity. And I understand the impulse to find an identity, right? The reason Germany and Sweden can't handle the Muslim influx is not actually the Muslim influx. It's that they are bitches. They have left their faith. They are weak. And small groups are trying to fight back. But that's the real problem, is that they are faithless bitches. And I would hate to see us behaving that way, behaving like faithless bitches. I would rather that we have the confidence and true strength to receive whoever. Because I'm not a cultural relativist. And this is actually something I'm going to get into with the next thing. So this fear of extinction is actually weakness. And it's focusing on the wrong aspects of your humanity and your culture. I have been accused by more than one person, but including the red and gray squirrel guy, of wanting to turn the U.S. into something more Latin American. And usually the implication is into a hellhole, right? I think of the person who years ago on Twitter insisted I was brown because anyone from south of the Rio Grande is brown. I mean, I guess if I parsed my genetics, I could say that we were just traveling south of the Rio Grande. I qualify to be a son of the American Revolution. And to my great grandmother's chagrin, I never signed up. My sister did. She was a daughter of the American Revolution, and she looks like a Latina queen. Anyway, so I want to turn the United States into Brazil or into Mexico. Hellhole. Well, what's with all the fear and weakness? If we as white Christians, this is the thing, like white, oh, I can't even say it, like, it's so unreal. Anyway, white American Christians, even, why can't we turn Brazil more like the United States, except without the abortion, please? Let me tell you a story about some Germanic peoples who lived in a land that was invaded by people of another faith, of another language, of other skin tones. One faith, a few languages, many skin tones. So they invade the land of these Germanic peoples and sweep through. And these Germanic peoples have to all retreat and hold out in a land called Castle Land. And Castle Land is right next to another land called Fortress. And next to another land called Lion. So they go up over the hill into Castle Land with their red-headed wives, and they make lots of babies. Then they come back over the hill and take it all back. Yeah, it took them 500 years. So to those who are afraid that their people are going to go extinct, are you enough of a people to head to Helm's Deep and make your babies and come back out? Have you the strength? It's on you to do that. Busy yourself with the positive things, like impregnating your wife and raising your children to be strong, which I know you're doing. So have the attitude that goes with it. Yeah, you know, I am cynical about the United States. I already made my abortion crack. I'm cynical about Brazil too. I don't want the United States to become Brazil. I do not want that. I am a lover of the Protestant work ethic, for example. So how about we put on our big boy pants and stop being afraid? We're all the same species of squirrel. And if the squirrels here have a better way of storing those nuts, well, let's go ahead and show our nuts to everybody. The peace of Christ be upon you.